All right, next we're actually going to do something with the spline. And in this example, the goal is to move this little robot from up here slowly down the path to here. So we're basically going to follow the spline. Um, the way we're going to set it up is we're going to have a spline sampler node. So we can ask along the curve what's the position there, and then this position we're going to feed into a mover node to drive the little guy around. So, by the way, like by default, you don't see a spline unless you have the editor open. What you can also do is you can go to View and then you can toggle the visibility here. Um, it's red on my machine. It's going to be white in release builds, just debugging stuff. Um, okay, so let's start. What we need to query a position along a spline is a spline sampler node. So you go to Add, and then from the spline category, you choose Spline Sampler. Whoops, this guy. The most important input is the target, which means what spline we're going to query from. So we're going to point it here. Okay, let's go over the other inputs. The most important one is the one called input, which basically means like where we want to get the position on the curve. And we can either say 0 means at the beginning of the spline and 1 means the end of the spline, which is domain fraction. Or we can say input means distance along the spline. So 0 is at the beginning of the spline and the total length of the spline is the end. Distance is useful if you want to place like objects along the spline, like say like a road piece every 2 meters. Then you can feed in a distance. What we want to do now, we just want to move from the beginning to the end. So fraction 0 to 1 suits us better right now. The other input is wrap, which means what happens if, for example, now we have fraction, we want to feed in a value between 0 and 1. What if we're going to feed in a 2? Repeat means we're going to loop around the spline. So once we pass 1, we're going to start by 0 again. Clamp means if we exceed the end of the spline, we're going to stay at the end of the spline. I think right now it wouldn't matter too much because we're going to feed in values from 0 to 1. Then the output values, position, the position on the spline. Tangent is the direction that you're moving in. Rotation is the entire rotation frame. And did wrap just means did we try to sample outside the spline, like before the beginning or like past the end. Yeah, it's mostly like to hook up more logic when you oversample. So now that we have the spline, we want to generate input values like from 0 to 1. We can either just increment like a number, but what we're going to do here is use a wave generator because it has like ease in, ease out, which hopefully is going to look much nicer. So that's the wave generator. Let's put it here. I want to move it slowly, so let's have it move over 10 seconds. We're not gonna loop. We're gonna have what do we want? Maybe that's fine. Maybe that's fine. And this value we're gonna feed as the input of our spline sampler. This one right here. We're gonna convert the link type because we also want to execute the spline sampler. Yeah. And then we need the mover node. So we're gonna add one. We're gonna go to add node, action mover, the target of the mover is the character. Now, the sampler position that we get out is world space. So we're going to set the operation to set position global. And then we're going to feed in the position. We also want to execute. So we generate a value between 0 and 1 with the wave generator. We're going to sample along the spline what's the position. The position we feed into the mover. So if I click play and the setup is correct, then we're going to see the guy moving along the spline. Yes. You see like the guy's like a little bit inside the floor, because because the origin of the guy is like in the center. So just to make it look like a little bit nicer, we're gonna add like another mover to push him up a little bit. Maybe this guy. So after we put him on the spline, we also want to move him up a little bit. The target is the robot, and we're going to move him up locally a little bit, and a little bit means maybe 0.5. Yes. Now he floats in the air a little bit. Maybe a little bit means even. Maybe even means 1. Yes. Okay, that's it. You also see that the guy doesn't face where he's going, because we're only feeding in position, but we're not rotating the guy. But we can also get like a rotation from the spline. So what we can do in addition to moving, we can also rotate the guy. So because we get a rotation out from the spline sampler, here we're going to add a advanced rotator because we can feed in a rotation here. So the target is the robot. Again, it's like in global space, so we're going to say set rotation global. And then we should be able to simply feed in a rotation, like so. We're going to convert the link because we want to execute. And now you can see that he faces along the spline. Okay, one more time. Now, while we're looking at this, we can talk about the rotation of a spline. So I open a spline for edit. That's my spline, and you can see like this kind of debug visualization tells you what's the up vector of the robot, and we actually have control over this. So I'm gonna toggle normals, which means we're gonna see like this up direction at any point on the spline, and we can actually change it. Typically, the first line is green, because the first point is significant. Its rotation defines basically all the rotations along the spine, so that the rotation is minimal. So we try to not like no matter what rotation you give it, we try to not weirdly flip the up direction quickly along the spline, which sometimes happens because you can just straight up stuff like this. So you can see, when I have when I show the normals and try to rotate, I get like another little knob, which is the green one, and I can rotate the orientation of the spline. The beginning is fine in our case, so we don't want to change that. But what we can also do is we can override at any point the up direction. So for example, here we can go in and we can rotate it slightly. The blue line that appears means this is an anchor. So we don't choose the normal programmatically anymore, but we're going to choose what the user wants. And same here. We can maybe like rotate it a little bit so the guy lands upright at the end. Maybe we even want to like have him tilt in the curve a little bit, like so. And change the interpolation a little bit. Maybe this looks good. Now I have a red line and a white line. Ignore a red line, it's like my local debugging stuff. And now I'm gonna exit the editor. Now, if I click play again, the guy tilts like we want him to tilt. Kind of like leans in the curve and like lands upright at the end. Oh yeah, one thing I should mention. We're gonna go to edit spline again. If we're not happy with like the explicit upright direction that we gave it, we can just unlock normal again. And then it interpolates like programmatically again. And the same with this, or like any point if I just have nothing selected and I unlock all the normals, it's like the starting position again. And then if I want to lock a normal, I can just rotate it in the position that I want to. And again, like everything which is like not locked will be kind of smoothed out. Okay, yeah, that was sampling and normals.